Welcome to DevOps Accents, a podcast on everything around DevOps, public cloud, and cloud-native topics, with your hosts, Pablo, Leo, and Kirill.
Hello and welcome into another episode of DevOps Accent. This is the podcast where we discuss everything around DevOps, cloud-native technologies, artificial intelligence, things like that, things that get into our attention and the things that help us build collaboration with our clients, with you, with the community. And we get together with the co-founders of MKDev, Pablo, Kirill, and I, and we invite guests from all over the industry, from different domains to get their opinion and see how they help us prepare for the future. Today, it's just Pablo and I. Hi, Pablo.
Hello.
In this episode, we welcome back Darko Fabijan, the co-founder of Semaphore, the CI/CD tool, and with him we plan to delve into the transformative journey of Semaphore's recent transition to an open source CI/CD platform that they announced recently. Is that correct, Darko?
Yes. Hi, guys. Thanks for welcoming me. That's correct. Like roughly a month ago or so, we published our community edition initially.
Yeah. Thank you for coming, Darko. It's a pleasure. This is not your first time on our show. Last time we discussed CI/CD tools in general, and today I think we'll explore the implication of your moving into CI/CD open source platform and the evolving landscape of open source tools and future of the developer collaboration. But I have so many questions. And Semaphore Going Open Source, it's a big deal. I mean, it's not just a license change or putting some code on GitHub. It's kind of maybe even mindset shift, right? So you opened your platform under Attach, and we will talk about this too. And meaning anyone can dig in, tweak, contribute, whatever they need, and I think this is huge. And we've seen more and more platforms opening up like this, not just about. And this is not just about transparency. It's also about speed and how the community gets involved. Future can evolve faster. Bugs get squashed quicker, things like that. And the most interesting question to me today is how the community reacted. You've been traveling a lot. You've been visiting different places, conferences. How did like the core audience of Semaphore reacted? And did you notice any shift in the way how you work with the community within these months?
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly as you said. Our history is like 10 plus years in being like proprietary software company. Initially, SaaS cloud, offering service. Then, a couple of years ago, also introducing the on-prem installation, which we call enterprise, and as people usually do it, enterprise on-prem that people can install. So in terms of the community, prior to open sourcing Semaphore, in some sense, you could say that there was like no or very little community. It was mainly, our customers. There is that element of, people, changing companies and then carrying Semaphore with themselves and then introducing it to another company. So that is this what I would maybe call of the community that existed before. Now we are like a month in, very, very close to 1,000 stars. Had a couple of contributions, overall, positive reactions, what you can see online. But what is easiest for me to answer your question is just by doing a couple of events after becoming open source. And I remember the days when you are like a vendor, proprietary vendor. So you have a booth at the conference, and people are approaching you, and so on. It's like a completely different vibe to now that we also have like open source edition. There are just just different, groups of people reacting very differently as you are presenting, what you are doing, why you are doing it, how they get involved, what they can just do, try out. It's the component. It's about like, yes, it's for free. That's one component. It carries all the positive aspects of being open source. I can influence the things, I can contribute, and so on. But people are also very, very interested because they now can see behind the scenes. Okay, what technologies are you using? How is it built? How is it deployed? What are the various decisions that you incorporated into building this solution, and how it can work with me. So and my teams. So it's a very different vibe. I mean, that's what we aimed for. That's what we expected, and I'm happy to report that it is happening. Initially on the small scale, we just did I don't know, maybe 3 events, but
Darko, one question, because for the people in the audience that they don't know exactly what does mean to be open source, the company were the owner of the code, and as far as I can see now, there is a fly that wants to play with me, and as far as I can see, the people now understand that the software has a different kind of license now, and now this software, let's say that is not owned by the company completely, and the people can participate on that. But can you explain how is that really working? How is this? Because there are many people who understand that open source means that I can go and do whatever I want to do. I can do everything, and there are different kind of license and different kind of things. What kind of license, and what the people can do.
Darko, may I add a little bit context here before you start a question answering a little bit context to Pablo's question. I've read recently about CI tools market. It's expected to grow from 1.4 billion to over 3.7 billion by 2029. That's like 21% annual growth rate, and it's clearly a lot of momentum here. So it makes sense to companies like Semaphore to do that. And this is the context for Pablo's questions. And now about the licenses, how it's going to work.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I will make assumptions that people know what the open source is. So it's like a software solution that sits somewhere out there. You can just take it, you can run it yourself, but the code is also available, and you can take that code, you can do whatever you want with that code. And with maybe some different flavors of licenses, you can also do like commercial work with it. You can sell it and so on. So there is in making this decision, you have to choose the license under which you are going. And what we went for is something which is called open core model when it comes to the business. And when it comes to the license, we choose Apache 2 license. So vast majority of the features in Semaphore are available in our Semaphore Community Edition. So that's something which you go and take the Helm chart and you install it. And that is under Apache 2 license. I mean, Apache 2 license means that you can take that and do whatever you want with it. You can, you can fork it. You can, run it on your own. You can start a service, selling some. You can do whatever you want with that. And then what we did is that we peeled off that relatively thin layer of like security, compliance, legal kind of features, and we kept it for ourselves under the commercial proprietary license. It's code available, so you can take a look at that code. You can even contribute to that code, but if you want to run it, you have to get the license. But we are also making some changes there, which is now in progress and hopefully is going to happen during April. So when it comes to the Enterprise Edition, not the Community Edition, but the Enterprise Edition with all the features, people will be able to run it if they are under 50 people, after 50 people company, and under 5 million in annual recurring revenue. So essentially, small software companies, definition of small is under 50 and 5 million, can just run the full feature product themselves.
But for example, if there is a company today with 2 or 2,000 employees, they can use the Apache version.
Exactly. Yeah. The Apache version, absolutely. Anyone can use it without any limitations.
And they can contact you in case that they want to have any kind of support. Because at the end, this is something that could happen. Let's say a Terraform, a Hasicop. At the end, everything is in Apache license, but they offer support. And for sure, like you, they offer another kind of license in case that you want to have a different kind of product.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I put too much attention on explaining all the benefits of the Apache 2 part in the community edition, but absolutely, like any company can just go in and use it, and they can run as many instances of it as if they want in their company and in their environment.
Because this is something when I have talks with people, out of the IT world. The other day, for example, I was talking with a writer, and she writes books, and I was explaining to her, what happened with the license, and she's a writer, and she has a book, and then she was telling, but if I do the same, who is going to pay for my book? It's something that is, let's say, difficult to explain to a person who is not involved in this world.
Absolutely. I mean, your writer friend or colleague would essentially should get a lot of publicity of that book, being available for free, and then later he or she might, end up, getting a speaking gigs or other business opportunities that should bring money.
Exactly. But it's hard to show that, to showcase that is something difficult.
Yeah. And there are people who there is, I think, that widespread term in the industry saying, open source business model. So someone could, put that on us, where we, want to support just a large number of people just using Semaphore for free. And then, a small fraction of, all of those people would end up, paying a license, and we would, make a living. I mean, for us, it's a little bit easier because we have like a 10-year-old, SaaS service business. And in that context, we are not selling really software. There is no per seat cost. People are mainly paying for resources and support that they use, which are, tangible items. So we don't see really a huge danger in that realm in terms of endangering our existing core business and customer base.
My follow-up question here, like, what was the real motivation for Semaphore to make this transition then? Like, what objectives you were aiming to achieve with that?
Yeah, well, there are two. So on one hand, we are like privately owned. I would classify as a small company of like 35 people. We work on this for a very long time, and we are very good at it. But we are still, a small team. There are situations where we have, order or 2 orders of magnitude, bigger customer, close to 2,000 engineers, and they might want to get like an endpoint for something in our API. And essentially, they could just, come in and implement that because they just have, so many developers, and it's, important to them, and they can contribute to that. Otherwise, they do have to wait for a little bit longer for us to do that. So open source, I mentioned it as a business model, but what open source is and what it did for the world and the tech, it is really a collaboration model. It is a model of collaboration between, engineers, developers, to move things forward. So one aspect is that, and the other aspect is something that I already spoke about a little bit. It's just about getting Semaphore into more people's hands, so they can use it, and then we can collaborate on it, and then eventually we can some of those people might become customers also. And On this second point, I should add, in our industry, there is that, roughly a cycle that takes maybe roughly 10 years or maybe a little bit more of like fragmentation and consolidation. So you had Microsoft, in 90s and so on. Then you had, Linux plus, all the other open source software that came along with that, which was like a huge fragmentation and kind of people taking back the power. What we are now maybe at kind of the closing of that cycle. So on one hand, Microsoft did bounce back from their low point, but there are also what also exists now in the realm of consolidation are these big cloud providers. You guys know, you work with them, every day, all day. AWS, Google, Azure, mainly. So they are in the market, and there is like kind of everyone else. So everyone else combined is probably smaller than one of those. And if you are like independent software vendor, and if you are going against in a way, of course, against Microsoft and AWS and other guys, you need to have the best cards possible. And I think for something that engineers and technical people use a lot, one of the strongest cards that you could have is open source and the community around that. And on that note, I just want to add one other thing that we are doing to support this open source story truly, is that we are also transitioning to building in public. So we don't plan to just work behind the curtains and make commits, and someone opens our repo and sees, okay, they added this and that and whatever, but it's all behind the scenes, except maybe some public discussions and pull request descriptions. So what we are doing is that we are ramping up of streaming and recording all of our meetings regarding engineering, regarding product decisions, publishing them on YouTube, and then setting up our Discord community and SIGs, so special interest groups around for now like handpicked 3 or 4 topics, where we are going to be introducing we'll see on some monthly or bi-weekly meetings that will be public. So for instance, one of those will be in the realm of continuous delivery, which is a part of our product that we are working on heavily and extending. And the other one would be just maybe the documentation working group plus developer experience, how people can onboard and contribute to Semaphore and so on. So it's a twofold move. So we are shaking a lot of things and changing a lot.
So you're really moving to the side. So it's not something like a marketing thing. It's a real movement where even, because it's what you said. Normally, when you are in a repo, open source repo, you only can work, but you don't know what is happening behind. You don't know when it really is going to happen. You don't know what is the product that is going to be added. You have no idea about that. You can open a ticket telling, okay, there is a problem here, I want that, but you are not participating in anything. You are a person who is expecting for something to happen.
Exactly.
But this idea is changing the way that this is working, because now you are going to make the people know public. So people watching a movie, you're going to make these people participate in the movie. I love that. It's something super cool.
Yeah, and then they can see how we think, and why are certain technical decisions being made? Why are certain product decisions being made? Why is this feature made it this way? Well, there are documents, there is the architecture, there are there are meeting notes that you can check, and there are even recordings that you can take a look into. So yes, we really didn't want it to be just that we have that badge of honor of yes, it's open source, but it's it's not a community in any way.
On paper, it sounds cool. Basically, to me, this sounds like anyone can basically get into your meeting, understand what you're trying to do, and maybe even contribute to that. Do you expect some kind of level of actual contribution to your plan, to how you're going to structure, or is it the way to inform the community?
Well, this is the area where I cannot speak from experience because I don't have it. It's like, in a month, we have a month of experience in this realm.
Yeah, but I mean, when you were planning to do that, what was your general idea? Do you want them to get involved, or just to watch a TV show? Semaphore backstage, yeah.
Yeah. I was getting to that part.
Okay.
We are expecting people to get involved, but it's something that has to be earned through like many small steps that will come before that. So here is how I look at the situation. Okay, we said that we are open source and we are open to the community. What we have to demonstrate is a great level of transparency, how the releases are happening, how the issues are being handled, that people are opening, how we are treating the contributors. And as you can imagine, the contributions are literally in the realm now of like CSS fixes, copy changes, really minor bugs. So people are not going to come in and implement like a huge new feature, of course. And then us doing many things in open and in things being documented and just available and done transparently should allow people to meet us, to get to know us by just observing and watching. Then they should get the confidence and a will to engage us in different ways. The absolutely easiest one, obviously, opening a small pull request, reporting a bug, asking for a documentation change, or making a documentation change, and so on. And then eventually we would like for some people to join those 6 that I mentioned, and we are in the process of making a public calendar of those things, and people can join from a customer base or outside. And as you know, there are times where for some people some feature is very, very important, and those are the chances where we of having the highest likelihood of someone jumping in and raising their hand. Hey, I'm very, very today interested about this test failure reporting API, because I'm now integrating it in some way, and I would either like to contribute in some way or give my feedback on specification and so on. And then potentially that person might go away because they solved that problem, but they will gain confidence that if they come back again, they could contribute again. Now, I haven't mentioned one of those 6 that we are kicking off is the API and extensibility. And that's a big thing, for a developer product. So people do want to talk with Semaphore and orchestrate Semaphore and do things with Semaphore marry it with various other tools and APIs and so on. So my personal hunch is that might be the area where people might really initially make the first significant contributions to extending the APIs or something like that.
What stopped them from just making a fork and continue from there on their own without waiting for you when you implement or when you develop? What's the difference?
I think that most of the people generally don't hate themselves. And I mean, if they would do that, they would add that burden of maintaining it on their own, going further. But there is absolutely nothing that is stopping them from doing that, and that's the point of open source, and that's fine. And we are fine with that.
One question, sorry, Darko, because I am from the 70s, and then I remember Richard Stallman in the 80s and Linus Torvalds, and this is one of the beginning, because I imagine that the story of the free or the open source is before the 80s, maybe in the 60s, something like that. But the first thing that with this GNU that Richard Stallman made, and it was only one script, so it was a number of commands that you can execute in Unix, like the cd command, something stupid that everyone is doing these days, like the ls, these kind of commands at CP, that it was proprietary. And he said, okay, no, we need to do something to avoid that, because cannot be the base of everything, because when they were doing in Berkeley the different operating system, they were not able to use something simple like a simple CD. So they created that. And then appeared Linux with the Linux.org with the operating system Linux, and all together joining something fantastic. But okay, it was two themes. And I remember a browser, Mozilla or something like that, that it was there open source. But now, if you check, most of the software is open source. And it was something that the people was thinking and telling, no, this is not possible because this is not going to work, because this is a stupid idea. How can you give that for free? And it's a change of the mentality of the people that is out of our world, because again, when you're telling, for example, to my mother, something like that, someone like that this is for free, but you are making money, it's hard to explain. But my point is, what do you think that is going to be the open source? Because now there is something like a CNCF, and there are many organizations in the middle, something that it wasn't before. What do you think that is going to happen in the next year? Because could be that, for example, one day the cloud providers like Google, like AWS, like Azure, they decide to go to open source too, because maybe they need to do that completely one day. So, what do you think that is the next steps?
There are no challenges that we couldn't overcome. Whether it is immediate infrastructure problems or planning a future project, we won't simply answer your questions. We become a part of your team to help you complete the mission. Our solutions consider the interests of your business and the combined expertise of the industry, as our staff is made up of more than a dozen experts in different areas who share decades of field-tested experience and knowledge with you.
Well, it's a very hard question just to say that at first, but yeah, it is super counterintuitive to the people that are outside of the industry. I think that the main contributing factor to open source being successful is not that it's free. It is that component that it is a very good collaboration model, where we don't have to reinvent the wheel, each company for themselves, but it's kind of it's maybe one of the very few things that are on the civilizational level, So it is one of those few things where it doesn't matter if you are coming from whatever country and from every block of the world, from the political, standpoint. Everybody uses Linux kernel. Everybody uses, GCC and Make and CP and all the other components. It makes it super powerful collaboration model where you can get together and just add something that you might be missing, and by that push everyone forward. And if it's like something which is substantial and just makes sense for everyone, it's going to get merged in, and we will just move forward much faster compared to the proprietary approach. And Linux is probably the best example of that, because it was made to do certain thing, and it runs well on the server, but people did all kinds of, you could say, crazy things when in the way they're deploying it, where they're compiling it, and all the devices and hardware and everything that is supported. I think that it is in the realm of being literally impossible to do in any other way by being open source. I mean, if you're a commercial vendor, pick any. You cannot engage and get so many people around your project only by open source. And in terms of going forward, I mean, there are multiple very interesting things happening. One is definitely like a CNCF, which is not a new thing, but it is in a way new to the open source world as a whole, that there is such a big support network for all this cloud native stack, which in my eyes is also competing with that idea. It is essentially the open source version of AWS, in a way. If you want to put your AWS together in your basement, you would end up using probably dozens of CNCF projects and tools to put it together. So it is that force of countering that. Hey, we have all this proprietary. Hey, we have all this open source, and then you have other vendors that are building on top of that open source. Their services and support, selling hardware through providing those services, and so on and so on. And one more component that now gets put into the game is generally AI, and how is that going to influence open source. In open source, one of the harder things to do is to start contributing. Open source projects tend to be very big and complex, and the onboarding is everything but not trivial. I was listening recently to a interview with Linus Torvalds, and I think that he said that when you want to become like a kernel developer, the ramp up time is 2 years. So after 2 years, you might get something first merged in. So with that, I don't want to delve more into the AI, but my hunch is that AI could further accelerate open source, becoming even more important and moving faster. Because theoretically, Pablo can clone Terraform and say, I want this, show me where I should add my code, and give me suggestions of how that could be implemented. And then it gives him a lot of initial traction and enthusiasm that he can do it. And sooner or later he will do it. While without that AI, that onboarding process and contribution process would have been much harder. I don't know, Pablo, if I answered your question or not, but we can.
No, yes, because, and there is one point that you said before, that because for me it's super important, and I always been a fan of Linux. It seems I was a kid, because I think that it's even I'm older than Linus Torvalds. Okay, so but the thing is that when he started to work on Linux, I always loved the thing that he was doing, and there are many people who doesn't know that if it's not for this guy, the technology is not able to grow in the speed and the way that was growing in the last years. Because you have an iPhone and there is a Linux kernel inside. You have a Windows and there is a Linux kernel inside. You have a Linux and it's a Linux. So there is no operating system these days without Linux. And there is no telephone without a Linux, because all the Android that are Linux and the Apple are a Linux. So at the end, everything in the industry is working because an open source product. And it was the first and the biggest one, and something that you were telling, but you go to the train station, to metro, and you introduce a ticket, and there is an embedded Linux. You go to the supermarket in Carrefour, for example, and the prices is because there is a Linux. So at the end, everything that is happening in your normal life is because Linux is running. And it's something that the people doesn't know. But it's crazy how, for example, this as an example, is a person who decide a team of people, because it's not only him, it's Richard Stallman too, it's Miguel Di Caza doing My Night Commander, and many other people who was creating tools and being able to create something real and creating this X and the graphics, and not only the making that this is happening. And for me, this is one of the biggest movement that is in the history. The only thing that for me, these days is so big that it's super difficult to follow up. Because when you go to these CNCF conferences, it's something like it's huge, it's humongous, it's something like crazy. And a lot of
maybe that the strategy being open source is to find a way to follow up on a faster, with a faster pace, to be able to move faster. Maybe that's a strategy.
Yeah, I think that is the ultimate to, in some way you could say forcing function, because what Pablo described is just to put it in other words, that open source at everything. when it comes to that stack. And why did it add everything? Because it was moving the fastest. There are many things open source that don't have traction. You need to become tool of choice, and to get to the tool of choice, you have to be very product has to be solid, and there has to be community around that will spread the word and preach and want to collaborate with you. Because you could also say that from our existing customer base, we are collaborating very closely with the existing customer base, in terms of features and how the features are working, how they're structured, and there are many details. What was not possible until this day, that they cannot contribute in any way to that effort. So the collaboration continues. The collaboration is just extending not to the customer base, but to the whole world. And the collaboration becomes possible not just with the customer base and the super enthusiastic guy that wants to contribute or optimize an API endpoint, but to the whole world.
And even the good thing is that you're using the tool and you find a bug. And for me, at least, this interesting part is not only that you can communicate that there is a bug, is that you can get the code and you can find a solution and you can make a pull request offering the solution for this problem. And even these days, if we talk about our lovely friend AI, you can use tools like Cursor that even can help a lot to the company, because at the end, if there is a bug, this bug can be fixed super simple. It's something like it's very good for both sides.
One way to describe this, again from a little bit different perspective, we have our backlog and we have our to-do list, and we have our set of priorities. You could say that there are clusters of our customers that have different priorities. There is a segment of customers that really prioritize certain parts of the API. There are a segment of customers that really prioritize certain part of the continuous delivery set of features and so on. And at the end of the day, we can have one priority list as a company. And for us, there is something which is super important for someone else, but is not super important for us now. And we have to pick our battles. In this collaboration model, if it's so critical for them, they can, in one way or another, make a change and make a contribution and move things forward for themselves. So suddenly it becomes possible to have a multiple, separate backlogs and priority lists as what they are for those people. And if it's critical for them, they can make a move, and everyone would benefit from it.
You already started answering my question a little bit, because I wanted to ask. It's not a secret anymore that MKDev worked with Semaphore to help you prepare to the open source, and there were some technical things that need to be prepared before making this big move. But what are the things that changed for you on technical side of your work now compared to how it worked before? And were there things that were unexpected? Now you already mentioned how you have to prioritize features depending on your customers and your own needs. What else has changed on technical side, on your infrastructure side?
I'll maybe speak a little bit about preparing to become open source. So the whole process took, I would say, about a year or so. Where when going open source, we had to create like a list of various risks that we have to address. One of those risks was obviously what are the potential commercial impacts on our business and all of that, and we tick that boxes and kind of accepted that there are some things that could happen there, but nothing really serious, which proved to be true. And then we continued through that priority list of risks that we must address in becoming open source. As you can imagine, for a proprietary software that has been around for a decade, there is a lot of software, a lot of complexity, being written there, but it was not really visible to other people. And then suddenly we are making that big move, and something that was primarily a SaaS platform is moving also to becoming like an open source piece of software. And one of those big risks was broad security. And there is a segment of that where we collaborated with you guys and had a great time while doing that, and had great results, which was the review of our infrastructure, which is running our SaaS platform, which is also, as I already said, the biggest part of our business and product. We are running on Google Cloud. I mean, I like to say that it's like a simple infrastructure, but in practice, there are actually many kind pieces there. So there were, I would say, maybe two big components to that work. One was the kind of broadest possible security review of our infrastructure and how things are set up. And in practical terms, it literally goes from your firewall to your security groups and various other best practices for Kubernetes cluster, databases, and many other things. And the other realm is we had some things in Terraform, how we were managing our infrastructure, but there were things that we were doing, by hand. And we just did not have capacity and enough, internal expertise to very easily like go in and say, okay, we are going to patch these areas where we don't have our infrastructure defined in Terraform. And I think at the end, it turned out to be a substantial portion of the infrastructure, which was not fully defined with Terraform. And that's the area where, Pablo had a chance to shine with his helpers to make that happen. And we reached that stage in a actually very short period of time, and happy to say that we continue to follow that. So there is not a single resource anymore in GCP which is not fully managed by Terraform. Luckily for us, there are some enthusiastic guys in our team who wanted to take that flag and carry it forward. So yeah. Those are the big high-level things, but yeah, Pablo, maybe you remember various other quirky details that you would like to bring forward that I don't.
No. But at the end,
let's do this, Pablo. Go.
No, it's the same that every company, because at the end, what used to happen is that it happened to all of us in our daily life. Is this okay? I will do that. And at the end, always there is something that you miss back. But this is happened to everyone. So, and you go to whatever organization, and always is going to happen that. And the problem with the security is that everything that you miss behind could be a little problem, and then it's something that you need to check. And for sure that when you want to go to open source, and then you're going to open the doors to everyone in your house. It's like when you make a party, so you clean the house. It's not that you have the underwear on the couch. You clean the house, and then you said, okay, now you can come to the party. And now if there is something dirty, okay, let's clean together, because now you are living in the house because you love the party, and then you want to live here in the house. And this is the point. And I think is something that it was a fantastic idea for your side to do that, because in this way you are telling to the world, okay, here we are, Semaphore CI is here, but it's not only here, it's here, and is in order and secure, and then now we can start to work together in whatever thing that we want to do. This, but nothing in particular different to whatever other or an audit that we did to another company.
Yeah. I mean, huge learning from us is that. I mean, if we have decided to do this ourselves, so there is like twofold. I was explaining the whole, infrastructure as code where we needed to level up, and also the security piece. If we would have decided to do this ourselves, it would have been, more costly. It would have been, much slower, and probably the quality would be also lower, because it's not something that we are doing, all day, every day. What you guys are doing, and I'm very happy about that process and collaboration, but also about ourselves of making that decision, and saying, okay, let's bring someone on board who will help us with that. It doesn't make sense if there are people who are experts in something, and you can make that work both financially and organizationally. I think it's a great thing, because we should not strive to be experts at everything. Yes, Facebook and other big folks can have experts on everything and on everything, but I would say for these companies of like a couple of dozens of people, or even a couple of hundred of people, definitely want to bring folks in to help you move certain things forward. Yeah.
I remember reading the final document from Pablo that he prepared, and I helping adjusting it. And while I was reading it, I didn't understand like 90% of it, but the part that I understand, I would think, okay, damn guys, you're smart. And you really have to know things on so great level to be able to pinpoint some specific issues and give like immediate solution how to fix it.
Yeah, dive in the details, I would say, because software is so complex, and this infrastructure that we are running on also ends up being so complex that one small thing is actually very important, and it's hard to figure that out.
Enough with patting ourselves on the shoulder and talking about how awesome we are. Okay, I have this article prepared. I was looking when I was preparing for the podcast. I was reading what other companies are saying about your transition and other stuffs. And all right, so Jenkins, your competitor, basically is still the biggest player with something like 46% of the market, if I'm not mistaken. According to different sources, which is massive in any way. And then we have something like other Bitbucket at around 18%, Circle CI somewhere near 6%, and somewhere already Semaphore CI appeared. And I've been reading a number of articles about, I don't know who wrote them, who are the guys, but they have their articles about top 10 open source CI/CD tools. And one interesting thing I noticed is the cons that they think that Semaphore has, and I wonder how would you respond to them, because to me cons sounds more like advantages, because it says, okay, requires paid plans for larger projects or high build volumes. Okay, it's not even a con. It's how the business model works, right? Potentially fewer resources and slower support, and this I want you to address. Also requires deeper technical knowledge for complex configurations, and this is not your fault, I think. And open source version focuses on cloud deployments. So what would you reply to them?
Yeah, those top 10 are, as you said, written all over the place. And I mean, for me, these ones are not, I don't see as something super concrete that I could respond to easily. And make a sense of them.
I mean, someone like me, right? And they will go on the Google, right, choosing the right tool, and they will open this article, and this is what they see there.
Yeah.
So you have to reply.
I mean, my hunch is that those lists were not written at the time after we became open source. So I'm not sure. I think that some of those included us as a service that supports open source projects. So that's my hunch where that is coming from. But yeah, maybe you can pick again one of the favorites from that list, and if you can ask again. So I didn't remember like all of them. So
you mean the cons? My favorite is potentially fewer resources and slow support. Is it about you?
to give such an attribute, you have to use the service. And I'm like 99% sure that whoever put that list together has not used all of those services.
Yeah, exactly.
Including Semaphore. So it's I don't know. Support, for instance, is one of our strongest points. It's actually maybe number one. And there are video testimonials on our homepage, people praising exactly that. And I think that's one of our biggest benefits of like being a smaller company, a smaller brand, where you can care about people much more than when you are huge. Yeah, we had many stories of people transitioning, for instance, from Circle or from GitHub Actions, where they just couldn't get really the support that they needed.
For me, as an experience, because I am a person who was using Semaphore CI, and I using many other CI provider. I can say maybe all of the list, or maybe most of the one that is in the list. For me, okay, it is even fantastic when you want to define a pipeline and you have the team of people who create Semaphore CI is the one who create for you the pipeline. But is crazy in the way that is working on the graphical way, because for me this UI that you are able to click in and to expand all the resources and all the steps, for me was a fantastic thing. I had to tell that when the first time that I was using, I was expecting, my expectation was lower. I was telling, okay, it's going to be.
Thank you.
Sorry, but my expectation was lower. But then when I saw the product, I say, and even remember, I was talking with Kieran, I was telling, fuck, man, this is fantastic. Because it's something that I wasn't expecting something so good. And then when I saw how it was working, wow, I said, man. So it's very, and the speed, and for me the simplicity of the pipelines, and the way how graphically you can see everything and how everything is happening. For me, this is super good, compared to others, because I don't want to talk about Jenkins, for sure. Jenkins is the king of the market, but if you check, Windows is the king too, no? You want to say that?
Yeah. Yeah, there is that component that you said. I mean, we touched on the support and that UI. So usability and great support have been always our two strongest points. But I mean, how we ended up winning many recent and biggest prospects and bringing them to become customers is through Jenkins. And I'm going to mention Confluent. So there are like 1,800 engineers making Apache Kafka, and they had literally like dozens of Jenkins instances, running that need to be maintained. So it can support the whole team, because single Jenkins instance, you cannot really scale it to that many people, reliably, and high enough, good enough HA configuration, all of that. So they needed a team of like 4 people to maintain all those Jenkins instances. And what they ended up doing is, for kind of you could say like a cost of one engineer, they bought Semaphore, and what they got is, Semaphore SaaS that is made to scale to, many thousands of jobs, per hour. And they just install it, and they since they're running it on-prem, they do need to make some infrastructure maintenance, but not maintain Semaphore, and it's just running for them. So, I mean, to the UI and the UX that we pay attention to, and the support, the big other thing that for people that are running Jenkins today, and they would say, okay, why would I run open source Semaphore instead of Jenkins? Well, you just install the Semaphore Community Edition, and it can have a throughput of jobs and all the resources that you need to push through Semaphore much higher at great reliability. Because in as Windows has its very weak points in terms of virus and malware and all that's possible, which kind of does not exist in Linux. The same thing is with Semaphore and Jenkins. I would say that the biggest malware for Jenkins are all those plugins that you must install in order to get that things done. While in Semaphore, it's all integrated and it's first-class citizen. And if you need to extend something, historically you could make something through the API, and today you can even go in and change the thing that you might need to change. But it's part of the well thought through and coherent whole. It's not patched up together. Or it's like Jenkins plus these other 15 plugins that I really need to get the job done. So that's how I describe the biggest difference.
The breakdown from the founder himself for you guys. Yeah, thank you, Darko. I also had some questions about artificial intelligence and with trends like AI and machine learning integration in on the rise, and I wanted to discuss how Semaphore positioning itself to incorporate these technologies maybe in the future. But we ran out of time, and you said that not your hunch talking about AI, but maybe another time. For those who listens to us and interested into contributing, can you please once again repeat about the new initiative that you created with your Semaphore backstage, or how do you call it? Where can they find it? How can they contribute and read more about that? We will put the links in the description so that everyone can join and start making the impact.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the easiest way is to just go to semaphore.io, or if you want to go straight to github.com/semaphoreio/semaphore, give us a star, join the community. From there, you can find the links to our Discord, and also a link to YouTube channel called Semaphore Backstage, where we already published like maybe a dozen or so videos of various of our meetings, and we are going to continue doing so. So those are the best venues to engage with us and get in touch.
Thank you, Darko. And from the perspective of MKDev, it's fascinating to witness the journey, how the things evolved, how the company is growing. It's a great pleasure for us, and it's a great pleasure talking to you today. Thanks for coming. Thanks for sharing this with us and with our listeners. Congratulations on the transition to open source. We can't wait for many more to come.
Thank you, guys.
And for those who listen to us, don't forget to get subscribed, because we have more things to come. Every 2 weeks, we invite another guest and discuss with them everything around the industry. Give us likes, comment, follow the links, and don't forget to be subscribed to MKDev Dispatch newsletter, the best way to get informed about everything that happens at MKDev. Find all the articles. You know how it works. Follow the links, get subscribed. Thanks for listening. See you in 2 weeks. Bye, guys.
Do you think your project infrastructure is well set and maintained? We know for sure there is always room for improvement. If you are uncertain where to begin, let's first do an audit of what you already have. We will review your setup from every angle: performance, cost, security, high availability, and automation, and provide you with a detailed roadmap of which direction your infrastructure should go, generate concrete tasks for you to implement, or even take on your infra entirely, if you let us, of course.